Good morning. My name is Patricia Levine, and I am a member of the Worship and Music Committee. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. The first part of our service is recorded. Following the postlude, the recording will end, and we will go into our section on candles. This part is not recorded. The recording will then be posted on our Facebook page, on YouTube, and on PAX TV. Given the concerns about COVID, we are still not able to have coffee hour after service. If you wish to participate in fellowship, we will be gathering here for conversation. We require that all of us wear masks when we're indoors. Given this huge surge of COVID cases, we're also making a special effort to maintain social distancing. There are members of our congregation who are immune compromised, and we need to protect each and every one of us. We also, because of COVID, are not passing the basket for offertory. If you wish to contribute, the basket is at the back of the sanctuary on the table. You are also able to post offerings online, and if you would like to do that, you can learn more about it from our Facebook page. Welcome to our service at First Parish Plymouth. Today the service is entitled, Love is Your Spirit, and is led by our minister, Reverend Arthur Lavoie. Our music program this morning is provided by Emily Browder, Melville. Our Time for All Ages is led by our Director of Spiritual Enrichment, Deb Keller Wood, and our Technical Director is Paul Melville. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever you believe, wherever you are on your journey, let us walk together this hour.
Good morning and welcome again. My name is the Reverend Arthur Lavoie. I'm the minister here at First Parish in Plymouth. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I want to say a special word of welcome to those who are watching online on either YouTube, Facebook, or we are now, our services are being broadcast in 6 local community access television stations. So please, I want to especially welcome those who are not able to be present in person with us this morning. And we are delighted to have you part of our church community and with us in spirit. If you have any questions about Unitarian Universalism or about First Parish, or would like to speak to me, please contact us through our website or office. The website is firstparishplymouthuu.org. The phone number is 508-747-1606. That will connect you to our administrator, and she will be able to direct you to what information you might need. So thank you for being with us. There's also a place on our website if you'd like to make a donation to First Parish in Plymouth. Thank you.
The call to worship this morning is 1 John 4, 7, 11, and 16b. Beloved, let us love one another, because love is from God. Everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. Whoever does not love does not know God, for God is love. If we love one another, God lives in us, and God's love is perfected in us. God is love, and those who abide in love abide in God, and God abides in them. Our first hymn is Love Will Guide Us.
Please rise and join me in reciting the words to the child's life that is printed in your order of service. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, to speak the truth in love, and to help one another.
Good morning. I brought something to show you this morning. I'm going to walk around so you can see them closely. You may have noticed them in the stairwell going up to where the kids meet. They've been there all year. Did you ever look to see what they said? Well, you guys are talking about covenant. We talked about covenant too. But that word can be hard to understand. So we talked about promises. What promises do we want to make to each other when we're together? The first one is respect each other the way you want to be respected. The second one person is special. The third one was kind of like housekeeping. Quiet voices and keep your mask on. That's a pretty important covenant right now. Making mistakes is okay. Help others. The kids know this one because I tell them all the time it's my favorite word. Who remembers? You remember what my favorite word is? Kind. Be kind. Those were the most important things that the kids talked about needing to be together. They don't have to be complicated things. They don't have to be perfect in what they do in class. But we have to try together. We have to forgive when someone's struggling or makes a mistake. But this is what we're going to try to do. And most importantly is to be kind with each other. I wonder what this congregation will create for a covenant. I wonder if the word kind will be in there. So I'm going to take the children on a journey of learning and discovery while you all talk some more about covenants.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
This morning, we were planning right now to have a ritual to commission the transition team that your parish committee has appointed to work with me as your developmental minister. Linda Harding, unfortunately, a member of the team, is ill. She's not feeling well, and her partner, Ann, has tested positive. So they're both under the weather. So we will postpone that commissioning ritual until a time when all 4 of the members of the transition team can be here. Cheryl, Shelley Jo, Paul are the other folks in addition to Linda. It would be a good starting point for our conversation about covenant right now, and a good relaunching of this developmental ministry. We've all gotten a little complacent. COVID has thrown us off completely, but in 2018, I came in as a consulting minister, and in 2019, you all hired me as your developmental minister to help you work through several key developmental issues so that you could launch more into a more healthy future. And so we are going to be working on that and be talking about that some, and you'll be hearing from the transition team and from me, and we will have that ritual some other time when everyone can be here. Thank you.
First reading this morning are the words of Mother Teresa, extracted from a book entitled A Grateful Heart. Do not think that love, in order to be genuine, has to be extraordinary. What we need is to love without getting tired. How does the lamp burn? Through the continuous input of small drops of oil. If the drops of oil run out, the light of the lamp will cease. My daughters, what are these drops of oil in our lamps? They are the small things of daily life: faithfulness, punctuality, small words of kindness, a thought for others. Our way of being silent, of looking, of speaking, and of acting. These are the true drops of love. Be faithful in the small things, because it is in them that your strength lies. The second reading is an extract from a treatise on atonement by Hosea Ballou. There is nothing in heaven above nor in the earth beneath that can do away sin but love, and we have reason to be eternally thankful that love is stronger than death, that many waters cannot quench it, nor floods drown it, that it hath power to remove the moral maladies of mankind, and to make us free from the law of sin and death, to reconcile us to God, to wash us pure in the life of the everlasting covenant. O love, thou great physician of souls, what work hast thou undertaken?
So I'd like us all to imagine that we're living in a rural New England community in the late 18th century, just after the American Revolution. That's the setting where Hosea Ballou, the great Universalist orator and preacher, and the author of our second reading, grew up. He was born in New Hampshire in 1771. His father was a Baptist preacher, in addition to farming a plot of land for his family. So what is life like for Hosea? Well, I imagine there's a sense of freedom and the democratic ideals that give young men, at that point only men, the right to vote and express opinions in this new opportunities as the country was forging a new identity. He also has a strong sense of community. Life could be harsh, and the need for other people was very apparent in these small hamlets and villages. He was also among the earliest generations of rural children that learned to read. It hasn't been that long in 1771 when he was born since the invention of the printing press. And male children of all classes were beginning to receive some basic education, even in these poor communities. There's a story that's told of him sitting out by the woodpile reading the Bible. He soon realizes that this is a more radical book than he had thought, because much of it contradicts the Calvinist ideology that his father is preaching, a theology based on sinfulness and depravity of human beings, and a vengeful God who condemns most of humanity to everlasting hellfire and damnation. In Hosea's reading of the Bible, he sees a God of love. And everything he reads only serves to strengthen that position. This leads Hosea to become a Universalist minister. And he spends his lifetime preaching and practicing a theology of love and universal salvation. In 1805, he publishes his famous book, A Treatise on Atonement, wherein he lays out a radical new universalist theology that defies Calvinism and turns American religious thinking on its head. That book is still being read in UU seminaries today. Hosea has become one of my personal heroes, I have to admit. Not only did he stand against the Calvinist doctrine of his day, but he also had no qualms about going head-to-head with his more highly educated Unitarian colleagues, some of whom could be classist snobs, to be very honest. His church in Boston was one of the most well-attended churches of his day. He also reminds me of my grandfather. That's one of the other reasons he's a hero to me. Now that Unitarians have kind of given up a bit of their classism, and Unitarians and Universalists have come together. We are the religious heirs of his theology. It is our legacy to continue to develop and practice its principles. It is our charge to continue to ask ourselves and each other, what does it mean that we base our belief system on a theology that claims that all of life is good and loving, and that this goodness and loving kindness flows from the same sacred source, the same God that loves and welcomes all of us unconditionally? Love is the spirit of this church. That's the first line of the statement of affirmation and covenant that you say every Sunday when the chalice is lit, and I imagine you've been saying it for a long time. Those I've spoken to who have been in this congregation for a while, I guess it's been here part of your Sunday morning ritual for a long time. Some of it has changed slightly, but we'll get to that in another sermon. But love is the spirit of this church. It's a phrase that continually calls us to new and deeper understandings of our relationships with ourselves, with each other, with our world, with our God or higher source or spirit of life. As we prepare to write a new covenant for this congregation, it's important to look more deeply at the one that you have been using here. I'll be preaching about different phrases in that covenant for the next couple of months. But I don't want us to be complacent. It won't be enough to say, oh, this one works fine and we don't have to write another one. The process of examining how you want to define your interrelationships is as important as any outcome. It's also important to write something that more clearly outlines additional best practices you want to use to communicate with each other, as well as a process for dealing with disagreement and conflict. Some years ago, a colleague emailed around quotes about love that were said by children in her religious education program. Here's what a few of them had to say. When my grandmother got arthritis, this is from Rebecca, who's 8 years old. When my grandmother got arthritis, she couldn't bend over and paint her toenails anymore. So my grandfather does it for her all the time, even when his hands got arthritis too. That's love. From Billy, age 4. When someone loves you, the way they say your name is different. You know that your name is safe in their mouth. From Chrissy, age 6. Love is when you go out to eat and give somebody most of your French fries without making them give you any of theirs. From Bobby, age 5. Love is what's in the room with you at Christmas if you stop opening presents and listen. From Chris, age 8. Love is when mommy sees daddy smelly and sweaty and still says he is handsomer than Robert Redford. From Jessica, age 8. You really shouldn't say, I love you, unless you mean it. But if you mean it, you should say it a lot, because people forget. The books of the New Testament, or Christian scriptures, were written in Greek, not the Aramaic language that Jesus spoke. In Greek, the word for spirit, pneuma, P-N-E-U-M-A, is how we spell it in English. Pneuma can be also translated as wind and breath. What can it mean for us to claim that love is the very breath that we breathe? If we claim love as our spirit, as the very breath that we breathe, the very wind that circulates around us, then we are saying that love is limitless, that it is a gift that we all share. When love is given as a gift, when we remove our egos and expectations, love becomes a force that is strong and palpable to all around us. Love is then a powerful force that can bring spiritual transformation to our lives and our world. Universalist theology would say that all love originates with God and that the divine love flows out from that sacred source. We know how to love because we have first been loved, experienced love. By the presence of the sacred of God in other people who continually teach us the limitless possibilities of love. Love is therefore a spiritual practice, a way of connecting with the God that lives in all. As a spiritual practice, love is something that we must attend to regularly, daily, sometimes at every moment, or we risk losing it and turning in on ourselves. Love is also a symbol of hope, of renewal, of compassion, of understanding. It teaches us that life can be better, that we can be better, that we can learn to embody the very lessons that love gives us. Giving love can be difficult, especially when there has been conflict. And love involves some risk and sacrifice. But we find again and again that love is a gift that gives equally to both the giver and the receiver. Much of our culture is based on values that separate us from each other, that bring sin and death. We see all around us hatred and greed, a lack of kindness, civility, and compassion. Love, on the other hand, offers us faithfulness. It is continuity and connection. It frees us from these bonds of sin and death. Love links us to our past, present, and future, and gives not only a foundation, but a meaning to our lives. Just as we can't breathe out without also breathing in, there needs to be some reciprocity, some love that comes into our lives. We need to seek the people and the things that renew us with loving energy so that we can continue to express that to the world. Love builds community. It teaches us how to be in relationship with each other. Part of human life is that we all yearn for a chance to belong, to be heard, to be understood, to share our joy, and be comforted in our sorrow. Love teaches us how to let go of some of the defenses we have established and to truly listen to what is important, to what is sacred in our lives and others. Love teaches us how to balance our individual need with our commitment to the greatest good. And love teaches us how to reconcile when the bonds of love have been broken. We no longer live in those rural hamlets and villages where everybody knows each other. It is challenging to be in communities when we are so different from each other. The places where we live have become more multicultural, multiracial, multi-ethnic, bringing competing values and needs of all of these different groups. It's easy to isolate ourselves in fear or to gravitate only to people who are just like us. We can often be overwhelmed, and we don't know how to reach out across the boundaries that now divide us from each other. That is part of our task and what we must learn to do. Dr. King spoke often of the beloved community. For him, this beloved community was a global vision in which all people share the wealth of the earth. Poverty, hunger, and homelessness will not be tolerated because standards of human decency will not allow it. Racism and all forms of discrimination will be replaced by an all-inclusive spirit of sisterhood and brotherhood in this beloved community. Love and trust will triumph over fear and hatred. Peace and justice will prevail over war and armed conflict. Love is hard work. It's not easy. But if we allow the Spirit of the Holy to act and move through us, if we are genuinely concerned about each other in the building of this church community, then the work of love becomes a labor of love. I'll close this morning with words from Alice Walker. Love is not concerned with whom you pray or where you slept the night you ran away from home. Love is concerned that the beating of your heart should kill no one. Amen. And blessed be. Our closing hymn is All You Need Is Love. Throw the Beatles in here.
There's nothing you can do that can be done. nothing you can sing that can't be sung. Nothing you can say, but you can learn how to play the game. It's easy. There's nothing you can make that can't be made. Nothing you can save that can't be saved. Nothing you can do, but you can learn how to be you in time. It's easy. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love is all you need. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love, love is all you need. There's nothing you can know that can't be known. Nothing you can see that isn't shown. Nowhere you can be that isn't where you're meant to be. It's easy. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love, love is all you need.
Our benediction this morning comes from the words of the Reverend Elizabeth M. Strong. Liz was a minister of religious education, served churches throughout the area, and was very strong proponent of the history and theology of universalism. She'd grown up in a Universalist church. She writes, "Where the heart stirs, there moves universalism. The center holds us within its transformative power of love. We know a wholeness of spirit, that God is love, that life is good, that people are created for goodness out of love, that in the final reckoning all shall be one. When we hurt, when we are broken, when we become separated, let us seek the center which holds us. Let us remember the goodness for which we were created. Let us be open to the transformative power of love that moves within the heart of life. And let us be whole once again."